Hello, it is Ed Butowsky with ChapwoodFinance.com, and as many of you know, the goal behind ChapwoodFinance.com is to help investors get knowledge, not just information. And with that in mind, one of the biggest markets in the world is Latin America, and I'm honored to have Fernando Donayre with me today. Fernando manages money in Latin America and is one of the great experts in that region. Fernando, thanks for joining me today.
Happy to be here, Ed.
Fernando, we recently heard about what took place in Venezuela with the leader passing away. But even before that, what the big news was that they were starting to devalue their currency. And from an investment perspective, what does that mean to most people in the United States? And is there a ripple effect that you think is going to happen throughout South America and Latin America? Excuse me.
Sure. The devaluation of the Bolivar, the Venezuelan Bolivar, really didn't have much of an effect and implications on Americans or indeed on other Latin American markets. Really, the bigger implication is going to be on the leadership of Hugo Chavez now not being there to maybe guide some of the more left socialist-leaning leaders of Latin America, predominantly found in South America. Without his guidance, they may find it a little bit harder to kind of espouse and forward their views that they have in the past.
Now Venezuela was not a major player in the world economic market with the exception of obviously oil. In Latin America, when you look at the countries, because we're always looking to see, what is going to really move the world. We know China is, the big gorilla out there now that's becoming a much, much larger economy. But, just south of us in the from the United States is Latin America. Which countries do you see are doing things right and that we are right now doing a lot of trading with? And which countries should we be doing more trading with?
Well, Ed, you're right, first of all, about Venezuela, that it's not a particularly large player within the markets. That was not always the case. If you go back to the 1990s, Venezuela was actually a fairly important economy, but due to a lot of the economic policies that Chavez instilled, they were really going down as far as global trade basis outside of oil. Now, looking forward, I think that one of the most interesting countries that a lot of people have ignored for quite a while, but now it's starting to get their attention, is Mexico. Mexico is one of the second largest trading partner with the United States, and it's a country who we're going to see a lot more trade going there, mainly because Mexico is now competitive on manufacturing with Chinese wages. And due to this new and higher productivity that we're seeing in Mexico, combined with their competitive advantages of being next door to United States, you're going to be seeing a lot more manufacturing goods being exported. Well, first being built in Mexico and then exported in the United States.
So, the image that we have here in the United States, and images are always not, a good way to run a business, but is that Mexico is a very dangerous place and it's a place for people to avoid. But I guess based on what you're saying, it's a little different than that. There's a very big business there. I know that I have some people I do work with in Mexico. I communicate with them via Skype actually. But do you see the economic base really developing there? And from that standpoint, is it a good place for people to put their money?
Well, you're certainly right about the headlines about Mexico, Ed. The headlines would lead you to indicate that Mexico is a relatively violent place, and people are talking about it being kind of a failed state 3-4 years ago. We don't think that the headlines are reflective of what's been going on in the country. Okay. So we think it is a country that is really on the upswing, and that while violence is a negative, it's not the driver. Again, the driver for the economy of Mexico is the fact that they are a very large manufacturing country, and those manufacturing exports have been declining because China was more competitive than Mexico. But as the Chinese wages have been going up, they are now equivalent to the wages that are being paid in Mexico for manufacturing jobs. Given the competitive advantage that Mexico has being next door to the United States, where shipping is not only a lot cheaper, but it's also much quicker, we expect more and more companies to be setting up facilities in Mexico to ship goods over to United States. And indeed, we've already been seeing that. There's very high levels of foreign direct investment going into Mexico, and we expect that to continue. So this is going to have a a very positive effect on Mexico, which eventually is going to flow into slightly higher wages. And there's going to be a consumption boom that we're seeing in other countries in Latin America, predominantly something that we saw going on in Brazil for the last 7 to 8 years.
Yeah, oftentimes, everyone has access now to exchange-traded funds, and they can get very country-specific. I often look at some of these small countries because at the end of the year, you always see which countries perform the best, and you think, wow, why didn't I think of investing in Turkey? Or why didn't I think of Sweden? You do that, the first week in January, at least I do. And so my question, I'm going to put you on the spot, and this is not an investment recommendation, so I want to make sure we got that clear. But when you look at these countries, I know that Vietnam in Asia is one of these really fast-growing economies. When you look throughout Latin America, is there a country like Honduras or El Salvador, one that people should really take a look at and maybe put a little bit of their money in? Again, not an investment recommendation. Our lawyers would get upset, I know. But which countries do you see really starting to make a move, some of the small ones?
Okay, well, as far as the smaller countries, we think that one of the most promising countries in Latin America is Peru. Peru is expected to have, actually, out of the major Latin American countries, it is expected to have the fastest growth going forward. Should be growing anywhere to 5 to 6%. And there is an ETF. It's not certainly as liquid as ETFs for other countries, but we think that Peru is really one of the most promising economies down in Latin America.
Great. Well, Fernando, look, we have known each other for 4 or 5 years. I respect what you do. I get your newsletter. I watch, how you're performing, and you're doing terrific. You got a great organization. And anytime something happens in Latin America, I'm going to be calling on you to come on chapwoodfinance.com to really share your thoughts. And I greatly appreciate you taking the time.
Ed, thanks for the cards, and be always happy to help.
Great. Thank you.